I was 25 when I got married. The person that I wanted to marry did not marry me. And after that, it was anybody would fit the group, would fit my category, because I wanted to get married. And because I wanted to get married, the first person that come along, and it was a coincidence. I never knew my husband. We never court, we never have a relationship, we never have a friendship. He asked me if I would marry him, and I said yes. And he asked me in April, and we got married in December. And we started having children right after he came to Canada. He came to Canada the 8th of May, 1975. And by the 1st of June, I was pregnant. And there it goes. 76, 77, 78. And then in 79, I said, we got to do something. So I did. And 81, the next one came. And 85, the other one came. And I said, well, this is enough. So I was the one that made the decision of, well, we did enough. And what I found out, my husband did not really want children. Did not. He did not show any interest. I was not taking the warning sign, because every time I get pregnant and I start crying, he would say, do you know what to do if you don't want it? And so now I realize that because of the church, and no decision was made, and the children kept coming. But today I have no regrets, because these are 6 beautiful children that I don't know which one I would say keep and give me, because they all play a role in my life for me to sit here today and to talk about my marriage, my children, and my relationship.
So, you said that you didn't necessarily marry for love.
No, I did not.
Do you think that was evident to your children when they were growing up?
I don't know. Because we didn't have time to tell each other, I don't love you or you love me. We did not have time, because my husband focused on working. For 15 years, he goes to work at 12 midnight and come off at 8 and go back to work at 9 and work until 4. So we did not have time to discuss whether we like or whether we didn't like, because he kept the bread on the table. For 15 years, my husband, when I got pregnant, the doctor said, how come you say your husband have 2 jobs and you're pregnant? I said, I don't know. Conway Smith was a quiet person. He had a thing about him. He would not tell you what his limit would be. You would never know. He wouldn't say it, because every word was, I'm okay. But when you reach that point with him, you can't cross it. And I've seen it with myself and others. There's a point that he has people at that you cannot go beyond that. And he's not telling you, but it's just there. It's one of these silent, because he's very quiet. We have never have an argument and you hear his voice, and my husband's voice has never been lifted in the house, other than he may be calling the children. He was a man of few words, other than when he's preaching. He'd take his words there, but no.
So did Auntie Lou like your husband?
She was the one that hold him for me. He was a friend. He was an Adventist. He went to study with my mother to try to get her over to the Adventist. She got him over to Church of God. She hold on to him. And I went home on holiday and he came to see her. She wasn't there. So I saw him and he borrowed a book from me. I was coming back to Canada, and that was it. By the time I got to Canada, I got a letter. So my mother gave him my address and he wrote me, and he said that two is better than one. And I said, if you know that I'm lonely, come and stay with me. And that was it. That was April, and we got married in December.
Did your mom help you raise your children?
No, not significantly. She assists, but she was not. First of all, my mother do not like children. So she was not. She loved my children. She loved Stephen. Stephen was her heartbeat. I know that for a fact. Everything it was Stephen. But to be a mother, I don't think my mother. She was number 7 of 12. Yeah, she grew up not liking children. So I get to realize this situation with my mother and her upbringing and having me and my sister, because there's a sister in my older sister in my life where we just don't connect. So my life was not a picture perfect life to grow children. So I know that growing up my children the way they are, it's just through the mercies of God and the church. I am 74 years old and I do not know who my father is. So I never had a parents in the house to say that was. I never knew my mother until I was 12. When I came to know her, she was Auntie Lou until she died.
You called your mom Auntie Lou?
Yes. Because I did not have an identity. I was growing up with my mother's family. So I was sent from one aunt to another aunt to another aunt. And finally a church sister saw my mother and the aunt that I was living with, and the church sister said to my mother, go get your child. And that was how I came to be with my mother. And when I came to my mother, I did not like her because I think she treated me worse than my aunt. But I did not know how to get myself back to my aunt because my aunt was in the country, my mother was in the city. So I was forcefully had to stay with my mother. Looking back, I think God worked these things out, because if I was living with my aunt, I think I would be a little prostitute whore. God, the way she grew me, I was so loose in the yard that I could have been everybody's property. They had a big home. Lots of people were living there. She was always gone. The one daughter she has, she would leave her somewhere and leave me alone in the yard. So I was going to be 12 when I went to her. So 14, 15, and being around, you never know what would happen. So I think going to my mother at that time was a part to rescue me. I got saved at 15, and that was my saving grace, because I was sure I was going to run away from my mother at 16. Because in Jamaica at 16 you can run away and they can't come and get you. So I was waiting for that, and I got saved at 15, and the rest was to stay with my mother. I left Jamaica at the age of 21 and went to Canada. Yeah, my greatest regret is I said too many no's to the children. I did not allow them to express themselves. Growing up, how I see children today can express to their parents and the parents sit and listen. My children never had that privilege. And I think that I regret over that. And maybe I would have known a little bit more about them, because really I don't know my children. I don't know them. They respect me to the point that their bad side I really don't know. I've never seen a side of my children that I would sit down and cry. I've got a lot of friends and how they tell me their children behave and things like that. I never had that. Never. Up to this point, never had that. And the greatest accomplishment is to stay in the church and keep my children in the church, because I think this is what was their saving grace. I know they love alcohol, but so far they are able to lead a good life. None of them is on drugs. to, and this is what the church has done for me. They are able to hold jobs, they are able to be in the world of work and express themselves as adult. You have children, they can't hold a job and they can't live anywhere, and they're like tumbleweed just rolling over. They have paid their share to the government, and in the end of their days, in their retirement, they can walk in and say, well, I have contributed to society. I remember I told them that if they don't want to take care of me, I have their social number both for Canada and for America, and I just take it to the government because they all work. They all work.
Okay. Who do you think is most like you?
Rhoda. And I'm praying for that changes because it is not very good. My example to her and my pattern for her, to her, because I remember when she came home from school, because they all went away to private school, and when she came home, she said, I just want to serve the Lord and be a wife. I said, what? You're going to college and you're going to get a profession. And I think that was wrong, because she took my advice, and now it's kind of hard to rein her back into that young lady that she was.
And who would you say is most like Brother Smith?
David.
So, okay, so do you feel like you equipped your sons, like you taught them how to love a woman?
No, neither my husband. This is one thing I think my children have to learn on their own. How to respect the man and to respect the woman. Knowing what I know now, I would have been a different person. And maybe I wouldn't have so many children. So sometimes ignorance is bliss. I'm not saying it's a general fact. I'm learning when I say statement not to make it a blanket statement anymore. My children and the church has taught me that, because my statement used to be blanket statement right across the board. But I'm learning that changes now. So the fact is, my husband was the quiet one. He was the one that was reserved. So I never know how well he loved me or didn't love me. I don't know. But I know he stayed with me. At one point, I asked him to leave, and he said when the children are grown, he leave. By the time the children are grown, he took sick. So we stayed together. So I don't know, but I know we did not start it off with love. But I think we end up with love. We ended up on a note that I think it was beautiful. And I think the church had to do with that. And I know that his soul is resting. I know he has found a place with God. I know that. I must say thanks to the church, because the church was a blessing for me and my family. My husband, when he went to Canada, and living there was a blessing. We had a church family, and until today that church family is still a part of my life. They are dying off. All my old friends are going home to be with the Lord, but still the church. And I would encourage anyone, if you want to have successful children, keep them in the church. Keep them in the church, because it's a safe place. They may not be safe. I am not talking about their soul, because I'm not responsible for their soul, but their safety. The church is a safe place.
All right, thank you, Auntie
Yes.
Joy. That was beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
I gotta do another one with your mom. She's a great speaker.
And one of the things too that I think my children grew up with, and I live with that in my life, don't have a secret. You do something, it's wrong, deal with it. Because secret can cost a lot of things. And when a person have a secret for you, they have something over you. And I try to grow my children. Don't let anybody have anything over you. And thank God I think they live that kind of a life. So what? So what? You know about me. You know, people think that when people know about you, your life come to an end. No. You know, I was so glad. I think it's one of the healthier way of life to live. No secrets. So what? Because there is nothing that I have done that somebody else hasn't done.
Joy has been a leading factor in bringing us back. Like,
yeah, she's definitely the glue.
She definitely, okay, you guys, you know, that mediator between us.
She's also been that home base for us as well.
Yeah.
Anytime anything goes wrong, we can go back to her and her house in DeLong, and we can restart from there and regroup from there and get the cocoon that we need to get back on our feet and get going again. I went through, I don't know if you guys ever heard about this, but I got divorced back in 2015, and I was a mess, and not a mess, but I was just out of it. But anyways, my mom came down to my house, and she just said, "Boy, what's wrong with you? Just get up, get up. What's wrong? I want you." She just cussed me out. You're expecting somebody to comfort you, and she cussed me out and got me back on my feet. And to have somebody like that in your corner, you know,
that doesn't let you wallow.
Yeah.
No,
she never lets us wallow.
There's no sitting in it.
When I look at my children and look at my life, I realize the goodness that God has given me. All right, my dear, thank you very much. And thank you for that, I don't know what you call it, but I hope somebody's soul will be blessed from it. Because sometimes, you know, your life look as if there is no meaning to it. But when you had it up and check it out, God has been good. God has been good. My 6 children. And anytime you're ready to interview Grandma Joy, I hope it will make sense and I hope it will be a blessing. Love you. God bless.